Bonjour à tous, bienvenue au 19e sommet du cinéma d'animation. Mon nom est 𝙙𝙬𝙧 et aujourd'hui nous aurons la traditionnelle leçon de cinéma ONF Sommets, donc qui nous permet de découvrir le processus créatif d'artistes qui ont un projet en cours de réalisation. Et aujourd'hui, cette leçon de cinéma sera consacrée à Joanna Quinn et à son collègue 𝙤𝙧𝙧𝙦, qui est aussi scénariste et producteur. La leçon de cinéma portera sur le projet qui est en cours de production, Affairs of the Art, qui est une coproduction de Beryl Productions International et de l'Office national du film du Canada. Joanna Quinn, on la connaît, c'est une artiste virtuose, une artiste de grand talent. Elle a reçu un nombre considérable de prix dans de nombreux festivals. Par exemple, en 2006, son film Dreams and Desires remportait le Grand Prix de l'Animafest à Zagreb et réussissait un exploit à Annecy en remportant 3 prix la même année. Donc, le prix spécial du jury, le prix du public et le prix de la critique précis. Ce sera donc une occasion extraordinaire de l'écouter, Joanna Quinn et 𝙤𝙧𝙧𝙦, et donc de connaître un peu mieux ce en quoi consiste le prochain projet. Et la discussion, la leçon de cinéma sera animée par Jen Hurler, qui est collaboratrice à Curtain Brew. Hello everyone, welcome to the 19th Sommet du cinéma d'animation. My name is 𝙙𝙬𝙧𝙧. You know, we've had for a few years now these very fantastic NFB Sommet artist talks. They are great because they are about upcoming projects with gifted artists. And today, we will have the occasion to hear about Joanna Quinn and 𝙤𝙧𝙧𝙦's upcoming project, Affairs of the Art. The film is co-produced between Beryl Productions International and the National Film Board of Canada. Joanna Quinn is the director, the animator, and 𝙤𝙧𝙧𝙦 is the scriptwriter and also co-producer of the film. Joanna Quinn is a very talented filmmaker and animator. She has won many awards. For instance, in 2006, Dreams and Desires won the grand prize at the Zagreb Animation Festival in Croatia. And the same year, the film got 3 awards at the Annecy Animation Festival. Special Jury Award, Audience Award, and the précis Prize. So we're very lucky to have with us, at least virtually, Joanna Quinn and 𝙤𝙧𝙧𝙦 for this talk. And the discussion will be moderated by Jen Hurler, a contributor to cartoonbrew.com. I especially want to say thanks to our friends, our colleagues, our partners at the National Film Board. It's always fantastic to work with you. So thanks for letting us discover a little piece of this very exciting project. And, well, thanks, everyone, and have a great discussion with Jen Hurler, Joanna Quinn, and 𝙤𝙧𝙧𝙦. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Oh, this is so exciting. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Marco, for that introduction. My name is Jen, and I am so thrilled to be here with filmmakers Joanna Quinn and 𝙤𝙧𝙧𝙦 to discuss their latest film, Affairs of the Art. Joanna is the director, as most of you probably know, of 8 short films, with 𝙤𝙧𝙧𝙦 also kind of producing and writing most of them. They've also worked together on a number of commercial works, such as Charmin and United Airlines. And as Marco said, you know, Joanna has won over 90 awards over the years for her work. And today they are joining us in the evening over there in Cardiff to celebrate their lovely character, Beryl. We're going to take a look at the 4 Beryl films, including this new one that's due out in January. And Joanna and 𝙤𝙧𝙧𝙦, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Yay! Thank you for asking us.
So, oh, and as a note to our viewers, actually, there will be a brief Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, be sure to ask them as you think of them. in the chat, and we'll get to those at the end. All right, so Beryl, she works at a Japanese factory in Wales. She's got a husband and a son. She is the name of your company, your production company, and she is the star, again, of 4 of your 8 short films, including the latest one, again, Affairs of the Art, due out in January. Where did the idea of Beryl come from?
Gosh, I don't know exactly, but it was, I made Girls' Night Out, which was the first Beryl film. Yep. When I was at college. It was my graduation film. So Beryl was invented at Middlesex Poly, and I think she's probably a mixture, at the time, she was a mixture of my mum and other people I knew. And I sort of wanted to make, because it was the 80s and there was, I was quite feminist at that point, and I am now too, but I had discovered feminism then. I realized that when I drew, most of the drawings were of men, and I thought, why do I always draw men, generic, characters? It has to be a man. No, I should be drawing women. I'm a woman. So I tried very hard to start to draw women. And so the first thing I did was, because I didn't know I wanted to do animation because it was a graphic design course. Yes. And so I really wanted to go into comics or photography, I wasn't sure. So I did a comic strip of Girls' Night Out, and I called it Girls' Night Out. And within it, the characters first appeared. Beryl appeared in it, and some of her friends who are still in the films. Yes. So that really was the genesis of her.
Yeah, and we actually do have that comic, so I'm going to ask that we cue that up. And we also have a clip from the short based off of the comic Girls' Night Out that we'll show as well. All right, so I hope you all enjoyed that clip. I know for me, the first time I watched that film, I was absolutely shocked that, we had a female character going to a strip club. And of course, at the end, she is a little bit liberated, and she kind of, steals his jockstrap or whatever, I don't even know what it's called. I imagine it was a bit more shocking back then than maybe it was even today.
Yes, it was very unusual.
Yeah.
Remember, it was unusual for women to go to male strippers then.
No.
Yeah.
Or maybe hand parties, but so Joe actually went to one.
And it was much wilder than the film ended up being. The women went mad,
Oh my gosh.
Really,
that's a fun business expense to go to a strip club.
Yeah,
but even then, I love it too, because something that of course is consistent in all of your films is how strong, like, you draw the female form and the human form as well. And for this, Beryl is not your typical, skinnier actress or model or, whatever, but she's still just like this confident person that I admire very much.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And this was also something, this was the first film that Les also worked on with you.
Yes.
Yeah, I was teaching basic animation at Middlesex University.
Yeah.
And just basically finishing the course there. So I just helped it out with the graduation show, really, and the screening of it and everything else. And it proved very popular because, unbeknown to me, she sent it off to Annecy.
I didn't even know what Annecy was, but somebody told me to send it there, so I thought, okay.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it won 3 prizes. It won 3 prizes. And I didn't really know what Annecy was. And nor did she until she did it.
I know.
and suddenly, like, wow, it was a big hit, and the character was formed. You know, that's how it happened.
Yeah,
really.
I think as well, because I made it in a bubble. You know, I was on a graphics course. There was no other animated. It wasn't an animated, so I just made it. You know, and then when it was shown in Annecy, I went and saw it in amongst all these other films. I suddenly realized that it was different to the other films, you know, because there weren't that many films with really strong characters, female characters.
Yeah.
So it did actually come across as quite different. But because I made it, I didn't think it was that different. But seeing it suddenly in a different context, I thought, oh, it is quite different, you know.
Yeah.
And so then I felt we had a commitment then to carry on making.
I was about to say, I was like, was that part of the reason you felt compelled to keep continuing on with the character?
Absolutely, because a lot of the films I saw was so sexist, and I thought, but it's funny because people get away with it. You know, it's like they don't take it seriously. But
not only that, because it was so popular, suddenly TV companies got interested, and you know, one of them, the Welsh TV company, paid for a new soundtrack on that film, and then said, "Oh, can you write another one? Can we do another one? We'll pay for it." You know, which doesn't happen nowadays. You know, that was a kind of beginning of where TV companies and people put money into short animations, which was great. You know, so that led to the next film.
Yeah, because at that point, there was Channel 4 and the Welsh Channel 4.
Yeah.
And they were very new and really wanted to put a lot of money into independent filmmakers and short. It was the timing couldn't have been better, really.
Yeah. I say, especially nowadays, it's like there's so many streaming platforms, and yet it still feels like shorts always are struggling to find a home somewhere where they could actually help their creators continue to make shorts. So you're definitely a lovely exception in that way, and I feel like that's how people know you. And when I think of independent animators that have been able to largely do their own work, for me it's Joanna Quinn, Bill Plimpton, are like the first two names that always come up for me.
Yes, it's true. Yeah.
Good old Bill.
Yes, he's just finishing another.
I know.
He's more of a
which is crazy to me, the amount of effort. But that brings us up to the next two films. So you had Body Beautiful that came out in 1990, and you had Dreams and Desires, Family Ties from 2006. And we could start by just getting some clips up of each of those. And the first clip, of course, is from Body Beautiful. It features Beryl's kind of misogynistic supervisor, Vince. And then the second clip from Family Ties, that film is about Beryl, kind of trying out her hand at filmmaking and doing the home video of a wedding, and it going a little bit not as great as we might expect. So if we could have those lined up, please.
Come on, we're gonna work that body. Come on, Beryl. Oh, God, no. Hey, when was the last time you saw your toes, love?
Oh, come on, Vince. Leave her alone. She's doing her best. Oh, God, it's no good.
Come on, girls. Let's sink into the Titanic.
I bloody hurt myself.
Oh, come on, you gotta laugh, man.
Guess who's taken out now, girls? Who's out there?
What was it called? Triumph of the... Well, you don't mind holding this for a minute, you will? Just rest it on your leg, point it down there and hold on. Don't worry about it. I've got you.
I don't know how to use these.
Tracking. Nothing to it.
You're going a bit faster. I mean, slow down. Look out, Jesus.
You all right? I'm really sorry. I'll just get the
Stay away from us, Beryl. Get the bloody ceremony tidy up there with no more arsing about. Oops. Oh, sorry, Father.
Which you might ask a question.
Oh, we're live.
Okay.
Les was just telling me that with the first two films, Beryl works in a factory in each of those, and Les was just sharing with me that they both worked in factories as well. So I could assume that had to be like an inspiration as well, and you were saying you worked in a bread factory, and that's where Beryl worked in the first film, which I didn't know that, because I'm, obviously the second film, Body Beautiful, takes place, largely at her work, and there, I always remember that it takes place at a factory that does kind of like circuitry and stuff, because there's this one shot you have, and it was in the clip that we just showed, and it's just this beautiful transition between the women, and then they like morph into like the circuitry panel.
Yeah.
And for me, as an animation fan and an artist, like that kind of stuff, and I know we're not going to talk about it much, but Britannia is another one of your films that just like the cleverness of some of these visual transitions that you guys have in the films, I'm always like, how does she think of this? So I don't know if that's like, I know Les, you write a lot of the films. So I don't know even how much you guys are thinking about the visuals.
Well, all the time, but I know that the actual art of becoming visual is Joanna's great skill.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, although I went to college and I did fine arts and I drew, there's nowhere near the kind of skill that Joanna, I have to say.
Go on.
It's not to say that I don't push her when she's doing things.
Yeah.
I really push her to do more and to exaggerate and to keep the quality of her drawing, and especially the liquidity of the line. And the
I think I'm actually quite conservative, and I am with a small c, and so when I'm drawing, I get stuck in, and I'm drawing away, and then Les is much more open-minded from his fine art background, and will say, well, why have you done that? Why don't you just stretch that and move that over there?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to, and then I'm forced to do it, and I go, oh yeah, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we definitely work as a team, even though I'm doing the drawings. Les is always quite critical and offering advice about how to challenge my drawing, how to challenge viewpoints as well, and say, well, why just do a cut from there to there? Why don't you morph it? And it also makes animation more interesting, because animation can be very boring. So if you set yourself animation challenges, then it just makes you happier.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, because that's even something like with the family ties, the shot that we showed was, her throwing a camera at a man in a wheelchair and wheeling him along. And there's another scene in that short too, where she straps the camera to a dog. And I can't help but wonder, it's like a chicken and egg thing for me as an observer of like, did Les perhaps come up with these ideas, and then you're suddenly like, oh, now I have to like do all the camera layout and figure out like all of those moving cameras. It's so much more complicated in animation, especially 2D animation.
Basically, that's what it is. Les goes, we can do this, and I'm going, no. Which is lucky that he comes up with the ideas in that way, because I wouldn't have even. I would just ignore them and think, what's the easy way to do this? So
I was about to say, I was like, sometimes I feel like with 2D animation, so much of it is trying to like, how can I take a shortcut? And I feel like for you, it comes across that you just dive in and you refuse to do it. So maybe that's more Les's influence.
And with the family ties, it was quite hard because it was a held camera, and so there were a lot of moving sequences.
Yes, just to say, the structure of that film was basically what was going on at the time we made it. There was a big kind of fashion for doing video diary, and you saw it on television. Everybody was doing it, and so when Beryl got given that camera, she, in her mind, saw it as a way of actually being a diarist, as well as making a video of an ordinary video of a wedding.
Yeah.
And the references are in it because she reads about avant-garde filmmakers and documentary filmmakers, and it's evident in the way she's trying to explore ideas.
Yeah, and
so a lot of references in it.
Yeah, I noticed that. And then in Family Ties too, I feel like that was the first time that I feel like I might have noticed maybe you had switched to like After Effects or compositing software, because of the way that you framed like the dog and the man in the wheelchair, where you could kind of, not that you could tell, I mean, again, I'm having the technical background, you can kind of like, oh, like, okay, these had to have been two different drawings, or she'd have drawn, she would have driven herself mad. So when did you like transition from more traditional to like digital?
during that film, but in that scene, in that clip that you've seen, the animation when she puts the camera on the lap of the man is all animated. But when they're going down the church, that is After Effects. A nightmare to put together because it was all animated in chunks. And then they had to sort of, oh my goodness, it was quite hard work. But you know, what I have got, if you'd be interested, is just to have a look at some artwork and seeing how it has changed over the years.
I would love to see that.
So the first film was Girls' Night Out, which is obviously on cell.
Oh, that's so lovely.
So that was drawn on cell in horrible Chinagraph pencils.
Really? Oh my gosh.
I know, and then painted on the back.
Okay.
And then this is the gorgeous stripper there.
Yes.
So that's his light behind.
Fantastic.
So, of course, the whole film was done like that, and I shot it all on a rostrum because it was all on 16mm film.
Wow.
Because for all you youngsters out there, this was before computers have been invented. So, and then the next film, because using the Chinagraphs was so hideously horrible, what we did is we still had to do it on cell because we were waiting for computers to be invented. And we managed to buy a really cronky old photocopier, sort of a bit murky and left marks, and we said, yes, that's perfect. So all of the animation was drawn on paper first and then
photocopied onto cell.
And so it just meant I was able to draw on paper, which I realized after Girls' Night Out that I loved and don't really like drawing on cell. It's not very nice. So this is it. So it's done on cell, but it's photocopied onto cell. So it's slightly different, and these are some of the cells from that. And then on the top, I would take a wax crayon and just do the cheeks and the.
That's what I was wondering, because I was wondering how you got such like a consistent coat with a China marker, because those are and then like the little details. And
then so the last film, that you've just seen, Family Ties. So this is like Vince and the girls. I don't know if you can see that, probably not very well. So it's done on paper and coloured on frosted cell over the top. So that's the wrong way around.
So frosted cell, how is that different then? Is it, oh, okay, I see. It's like, it's got a texture.
The pencil and what was it? It was
Caran d'Ache
again.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Caran d'Ache, it's beautiful.
So it just meant, so there's Beryl. So that's the cell. And so what we ended up doing was computers have been invented, and
we could scan it.
Yes. So we scanned it into the computer and then composited it all in After Effects. And because what we did is we scanned the drawing and the coloured cell as one layer, and then we took the cell off and just scanned the one drawing. And that meant that in the computer they could go in as separate layers, and we could make the pencil much darker over the top of the colour. It just meant we were able then to control the colour and the pencil.
Yeah. So then was all the colouring done digitally then?
No, that was
still. Oh, there was still,
hand done
by our terrific colourinners. That's one of the drawings of Will.
Yeah.
You can see
the
that.
guy who had the camera on it.
Yes.
So that's how big the drawings were.
Yeah. And Les, you did a lot of the colour design for all of these films, yeah?
Well, it was easier to do it in those days because I could do all of it in a sense. I mean, then we used Teams, obviously, and I didn't. But nowadays, all I can do in terms of the colour design, because I don't work on computers, is do it by hand first of all, still using Caran d'Ache onto photocopied drawings, and then we look at them. We have sessions where we look at them and work out which I might do 6 different versions of one character in one situation. I mean, all film was done like that first of all, and then handed over, of course, to, as we said to you before,
our champion colour-inners.
yes. And now most of that is done on computer, handed over.
Yeah.
And so I lose it. I lose control then, and I've got to just kind of supervise over somebody's shoulder, saying, "Can you make this a little bit more?" Because you haven't quite got the control with the colour that you have with pencils. You know, it's the same. Not having the same control, trying to work on a screen with a computer pen.
There's always like a slight disconnect.
Yeah, and it's not the same.
No, I understand that. So then at this point, we've seen Beryl, and one of the things that I really love about her is she dives so wholeheartedly into, you know, in each of the films, she has like a different subject that she gets like hyper fixated on. You know, in the first one, it's maybe less so. That's more just like the confidence that she has in this environment. But then in the next one, you know, she wants to defeat Vince, and she wants to, you know, put on this, you know, she puts on this amazing, surprising rap performance at the end, and she gets really involved in her training, and she's like doing it all the time, and like her husband's just kind of like, what's she doing? What's happening? And then even in the latest film, you know, she gets super fixated on drawing, and then in Dreams and Desires, of course, she gets super into film. So I just really love that she is just so human. And again, I don't mean to equate you to her, but sometimes I'm like, oh, it's like, it was really interesting for me because Beryl has all of these things that she gets to do, and you've been doing animation as like your sole, like that's been a thing that you've been doing for, you know, at this point over 30 years. So are you, I know, I'm sorry. Do you feel like you get to kind of explore these other interests and hobbies through Beryl perhaps?
Oh, maybe, yeah. I mean, I know that after doing adverts for how many years? Quite a long time.
Yes.
20 years.
We were really desperate to make another film. And I think the reason it was all about Beryl learning about film, and Beryl in this film learning about drawing and everything, I think it is about us and wanting to experiment and, you know, never stop learning. And
but it's also about the belief that anybody can do anything, and especially under character as a woman and as a working class woman, when she puts her mind to it, she can take on anything and do it. You know, and most of the films are about that, about ambition, you know, and really triumphing. You know, at the end.
And honestly, it's such a much needed thing to see that type of strength in a woman character, because I feel like, you know, we have the strong female character that we see more now with so many of the superhero films. I'm not even trying to knock them or anything, but to see a more nuanced kind of strength, you know, a strength that you don't think about as something like worth celebrating, where it's like, yeah, this is this woman who, you know, she has her normal 9-to-5, but then she just like is so passionate about these things, and she's like this just like flawed, grounded person, and it's so refreshing. And I feel like maybe it was, you know, that much more groundbreaking, again, like you were saying at the beginning, but I'm saying for me now it still is so refreshing, and that's kind of, it's a little bit sad when I say it out loud like that, but also it's nice to see that she's still exploring things.
That's great to hear. For us, it doesn't seem as surprising because we created it, so for us it seems like normal, you know, that's what but it's nice to know that other people appreciate her go-gettedness. And and I feel like normal is like the funny thing too, because we're going to quickly, in a little bit, we're going to jump into some clips from the newest film, and I feel like the thing that I loved so much about that film too was like the idea of what normal is, where it's like these are all just like normal people living their lives, but like everybody's got such idiosyncrasies and strange quirks and strange interests and stuff, and it really is the idea that kind of the strange things about us are what make us so relatable to people. And I feel like it's just like been amazing to see that with this character over the last several decades. Oh, that's good. Well, I think what we wanted to do with this film is introduce other characters in her family, and not just about Beryl. And of course, the film, because it wasn't handheld like the last one, we were able to use flashback. You know, we were able to go back in time and look at Beryl and her sister Beverly as children and what got up to. And so in this film, we've got Beryl and her relationship with her sister. Yeah. And we've got her son, Colin, her husband, Ivor, who plays a role than in the previous films. So,
but they're all based on observational characters, you know.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, right. I mean, everybody, you know. In fact, we taught a module once, which was about. It was just called My Strange Family, and all the students had to. When you asked them to talk about that, they immediately knew what you were talking about, and they immediately knew somebody in their immediate family who was like that, or was worse, and then they made short films on that. And it was fantastic what they came up with.
Oh, that's such a great prompt.
It was so rich.
But I think that's the point, is that, you know, truth is stranger than fiction. And if you base it on observation, it's going to be fantastic, you know, because people are amazing and they're all weird and wonderful. And yes, so every character in our film is based on somebody we know.
That's
no, hang on, not
maybe
all
a mixture,
like a composite. Yeah. That's probably safer to say anyway. So
Beryl's sister is pretty much imagined, but based on knowledge, if you see what I mean.
Yes.
Of other characters, other women, but she's the imagined one. The others are not sort of intimately observed, you know.
Cool. So then let's take a look at some of those clips. So what you guys are going to see in a second here is first a lovely little process video that Joanna filmed to show kind of the making specifically of this current film. And then the next couple clips are just little sneak peeks of the next film, Affairs of the Art. So if we could get those queued up, please.
So the first thing is that Les has written the script and detailed character profiles. Once we're happy with that, then I move on to looking at images. So I love working in these big books. These are big sketchbooks, and I use these books to play around with character ideas and also scenes, looking at scenarios. And here's the final storyboard pinned on the wall. So you can see it's rather large. All the information is on the storyboard. So this is a description of the action on this side. Over here, it's got voiceover and also sound effects.
She even joined the young communist just to get a free trip to Moscow to see his tomb. But they only went as far as East Berlin. So Bev quit the party. But they only went as far as East Berlin. But they only went as far as East Berlin. So Bev quit the party. But they only went as far as East Berlin. So Bev quit the party.
She even joined the Young Communist League to get a free trip to Moscow to see his tomb. But the bus only went as far as East Berlin. So Bev quit the party in disgust. I found these the other day. My first drawings. Oh, I used to draw all the time. I just couldn't stop. The walls of my bedroom were completely covered with my drawings. I don't know, it was like a drug. I can't believe he's 38 and still lives at home with us.
I wish he'd get himself a bloody girlfriend like a normal bloke.
Move!
Oh, hurry up.
Yeah, obsession. The whole family's obsessed with something. Colin, Beverly, now me. Move! I blame our grandma's influence. She was obsessed too. With pickling. Mum did think Bev was a bit strange, though. Well, we all did. She was quite weird, though. And what have I done with my life? I'm 59, married with a grown-up geek, still working in a factory, dreaming about what I should have done. I could have gone to art school, been somebody, been a contender. Now it's the bloody change, right? I look like shit. I've lost my looks, my figure's gone, and to cap it all, the other night I caught Ivor watching one of those twerking videos. And you know what he said?
Right, I hope you guys enjoyed those. I know I personally loved, and I just thanked Joanna off screen for including the lip sync part of the process video. I want to believe that you know, I feel like sometimes with animation, people kind of just blindly are like, oh yeah, it must be fun. You just get to draw pictures all day. And it's like, no, like it's hard work. So it's nice to see like maybe there were like those pockets of just like goofing around and stuff.
No, it is really hard work, but it is all based on observation. As long as it's all based on reality, it's much easier to animate. You know, if you do research, it's much easier.
Yeah. And then something that I did want to circle back on a tiny bit was, you know, just something that I feel like if anybody has watched all of your films, or even if they've just seen, you know, the first 3 of the Beryl films, you know, you identified yourself as a feminist, and that's exciting to me because I feel like this is a very male saturated industry and art form. So it's always nice to see women in there, and it's nice to see people willing to, you know, have these characters that are different body types and celebrate their different body types, and to even see different portrayals of masculinity, you know, where we've got the stripper at the first film, and then we've got Vince, and then we've seen like her husband through all of the films, and then in this film we meet her son Colin as an adult. So I don't really have any question for you so much as just like, well, I guess it's more just how aware or not were you as you were progressing that you either were trying to insert things like that, or was it a back and forth between the two of you to try to think more about like the messaging that you were sending? I'm giving you a very roundabout question right now.
Yes, I mean, I think we're very aware of responsibility to communicate ideas, you know, when you make a film, to make sure that, you know, if you're spending all this time working on a film, you want it to have a really good message, you know, and not to just be throwaway, you know. We're quite political, you know, so we do want to make films that hopefully will change people's minds, maybe, you know, but at least will make people think. And and so
well, I think it's about the fact that, like I said earlier, that we believe anybody can do anything basically, and we use Beryl as a way of sort of showing people that they can achieve amazing stuff in their own lives, you know, from small beginnings to becoming, you know, expressing their own ideas about themselves and the world. And Beryl is that kind of character. She does that in every film. She starts off trying something out, and then she takes hold of it and she triumphs with it.
Yeah. I think you helped me kind of find the eloquence, because I feel like sometimes when you see interviews with women directors and stuff, you know, there's always that women in front of the director thing. And I feel like there's a bit of a frustration there of just wanting to be seen as a director. So for me, it's really nice to see, you know, you as a woman director making these films, but yeah, they're not necessarily preachy, or there's not like an agenda like that's being, you know, shoved down. Like you guys said, it's an observational sort of thing from your lived experiences. And like, I feel like that sort of thing, it must be so challenging to come up with ideas and try to find that, like, that structure, but then also kind of, again, that observation and that more casualness of life that you guys are, like, that balance, I feel like you just strike so well.
Well, I mean, it does come naturally. I mean, we do. I mean, she is a great character. She's easy, you know.
Yeah.
She's easy to
write for. You know?
Remember, I'm a guy writing basically about women, and I have to sort of get into a kind of mindset which I got into 30 years ago, and sort of it's quite easy to do that now.
Yeah.
But I think the trump card we've got is
the trump card.
No, not the trump card. is the fact that it's funny, because we use humor to be preachy. So,
well, we hope
and so by making people laugh, you're forgiven everything. If you can make people laugh, then you can say all sorts of things, and people don't take offense. So yeah, having humor is the best thing.
Yeah, and then so going back to Affairs of the Art, so some of the clips that we showed, one of the ones that I picked that I especially wanted to show, again, that I felt like just captured her character like so well, was of course the scene where she's like painting herself, and then she's talking about how absolutely bizarre she finds her sister, meanwhile she's about to throw herself into the wall. And again, it's just, she's just such a perfectly imperfect character. And I feel like nowadays you cannot ask for like a better thing to see in film and in media, of just these.
Yeah, because in that particular thing, she says, I think, she's talking about her sister, and she says, she was a bit weird though, and then she starts painting herself with a brush, which is incredibly bizarre for somebody, a housewife standing there.
Yeah. And then she's like, she's about to like throw herself at the wall with all the paint, and she's like, I'm asserting my identity. And I was like, that's so, like, it was so perfect.
Remember, most of these films have got references to either, in the previous one, it was filmmakers.
Yes.
So there's messages to do with other artists, right? So that was a Klein. The guy, and we subvert it in a way that, like the Klein, pressing naked women with blue paint on canvases.
Yes.
With an audience of mainly men. This terrible. Is like, whatever you think about that now, with hindsight, this girl on her own in a room slapping ordinary house paint on herself, and basically throwing herself, and she's not an erotic looking young woman, she's a middle-aged housewife, right?
Yeah.
And so it subverts the whole idea of the Klein thing, and it maybe makes people re-examine what he was doing, one of the things he got into. So I love making those references to things.
I particularly like in this film and enjoyed making her husband naked all the way through the film.
Yes.
As her muse and tormenting him ruthlessly. But he's happy to do it. He's such a supportive husband.
Yeah.
Like, he's happy to be tortured and drawn.
On a meta level, I loved watching you figure drawing him as well. Like, I was just like, that must have been like, I hope that was a bit of fun for you too, of getting to draw this character. Just like, I have to get this angle right. And like, honey, like change your pose. Like, and if, in a few seconds change. And it's just like, yeah, I was kind of like, you not came full circle, but of course, like, she found the thing that you found, which I think is lovely. And even at the end during the credits, she's giving an interview at a gallery opening. And there was this one line where the person is asking her about her use of the female gaze and her depictions of the male body. And I was cracking up because, again, like for me with all of your films, like that really is like such a through line. And I almost felt like, maybe this was like a cheeky warning to people like me talking to you, to be like, yeah, I know, like you don't have to ask, everybody asks the same things. But it was so good. There's so many layers.
Oh, that's great. And we just wish we could show the whole film,
Yeah.
So next month we'll be able to show.
I'm trying not to spoil too much. And again, the clips that everybody saw, I think the lovely thing about this film too is like they said earlier, it does branch out into sections about Bev, who's Beryl's sister, and her son Colin. And I don't want to even like give away anything because it's so delightful and unexpected. So I don't know
Great.
if you guys would want to like share anything about that. I don't know.
Well, yes. Well, I mean, basically, what we've done in the film is it's about many different things, but it's about Beryl and her yearning to become an artist, and she creates this new art form, hyperfuturism, which is all about capturing the moment, which is actually it's about animation. It's about she's trying to capture the movement in between, which is, so she's actually an animator, and this is a sort of homage to animation, I think, and my obsession with the frame, you know, the single frame.
Well, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. And see, I know what you're trying to do. And, but then it's also about obsession and looking at the characters in her family who are all obsessed as she is. She's obsessed about drawing and capturing this moment, and they're obsessed about other things. So it's sort of exploring obsessions as well.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just, I can't wait for people to see Bev. I'm so excited for people to see like little Bev and adult Bev, because oh boy, what a character.
Yes. And of course, what we've also was we were exploring the relationship between two sisters,
Mm-hmm.
and Beryl, who gets pregnant and she can't go to art school, which is really what she wants to do. And Bev, her sister, from a very young age, was just determined, and she just went for it. And so her whole life has been, you know, like that,
upwardly mobile into obsession.
and she's like focused on the goal, whereas Beryl's a bit nice, so her life has got a little bit like that.
Yeah.
But listening to Beverly, and the encouragement from Beverly helps Beryl go, yes, sod it, I'll go for it, I'll make my dream come true.
Yeah, I feel like this was the interesting one, because I feel like in the past films, if there was sort of a low for her, it was usually, she was discouraged for a moment, and then she kind of like plucked up her nerve, and then she went for it. And then this was the first time that we did see her kind of have that little confidence struggle. And then she immediately, had this sister who she could go to, and then she got fired up again. And it was nice to see that bit of vulnerability, because again, I feel like strength so often is depicted as not having any kind of weaknesses or anything, and vulnerability, I think, it is a strength as well. So it's nice to see that happen, and then she responds to it, and then she seeks out help, and then she gets going again, and it's great to see that.
Yay.
Right.
Do you want to go into any more of that? Otherwise, then nobody.
I think it's time for questions.
Yeah.
Yes. No. Good call. Good segue. It is time for questions. So again, if you still haven't, be sure to submit some questions, and we'll try to get through them. So the first one I have is from Nancy Bayman, and she asked, "Who influenced you as an animator or filmmaker, since you had a feel for the medium from the start?" Oh, that's a lovely compliment.
Oh, let me think. Well, actually, at the beginning, when I did animation, I wasn't looking to anybody, because I went to do graphic design, and so I wasn't really aware of animation. I don't think it wasn't until somebody came to the college and started teaching us basic. We all had an animation module, and I was watching what other people were doing and thinking, oh my goodness. And watching their stuff move. And so when it came to me, I had this opportunity to make my drawings move. And of course, I realized that it absolutely suited me, because I love to draw.
Mm-hmm.
I draw a lot, and I get bored easily. So it was perfect, because I could just draw, and then make things move. And just the satisfaction of making stuff come to life was wonderful. But then later on, when I started to look at other animation, I suppose the person at the time, it was like Bill Plimpton, of course. And there are other British animators like Jonathan Hodgson,
Mm-hmm.
Susan Young. They were sort of my generation, and they went to the Royal College, so there were those students. And then of course I just love Tex Avery, who doesn't? So
fair.
And now, of course, I just dribble over Milk Carl and his wonderful Disney drawings, you know, just the sheer genius of his animation.
Yeah.
But I think both Les and I are huge animation fans anyway. We love watching animation. So we're having a great time at the moment watching all these online animation festivals.
Yes.
You know, it's fantastic. You're able to watch all these films and then meet the filmmakers and see them chat like this and talk about them. Although it is nicer going to festivals in person. But anyway.
Yes, no, for sure. Okay, this is from Monroe. Would you consider doing a feature?
Yeah. We've always said, oh my God, if it's bad enough making a short film, you know, 16 minutes took us 5 years or whatever, right? To make a feature, of course, and that involved a very, very small group of people that work around us. And we had experience when we did as a big, you know, I think we had 40 people working for us at one point. And it's a big deal. You have to have a big studio, you have to have very talented people, you have to have, you know, all these other roles kick in, like studio coordinators, studio managers, you know, different kinds of producers. And I suppose the nearest that Joe got to doing that was making Famous Fred, which is, what was it, 30 minutes?
Yeah, it's like 25, 30 minutes, yeah.
And I think the one thing that I got from that was the compromise, you know, and so because we absolutely love making short films and we love that you're so close to it, you know, and that you do it, and even with the ads and even when we got a big team, I'm always the last person to touch the drawings, you know, so that I'm the last person, I'm chief tweaker, you know, so if other people have all done the work, I go through it all, and I
it's called quinifying or quinification.
Yes, right? I'm head quinifier, and so I quinify the drawings if they've gone a little bit somebody else. And so the thought of doing a feature, we'd have to put a completely different hat on. It would be like us doing commercials, you know. It would be very, very divorced from us. I love the idea of a feature because it reaches many more people, you know, than shorts. For that reason, I would love to make a feature, but just the sheer hard work and the compromise scares me a little bit. Maybe if we did a feature, but not with Beryl, that might solve it. But Beryl's so close to us, I can't imagine letting her go that way.
No, I understand that. And again, it's unfortunately, a bit of a rarer thing to see a filmmaker over such a long period of time be able to sustain themselves. And I know you did some ad work and whatnot, and you've partnered with different companies and groups over the years to help your funding, but your films, your short films are always still so, you know, inherently you. And I feel like even, you know, Famous Fred, again, obviously that one was based off of a, you know, pre-existing story and whatnot. But again, I guess it still has you still quinified it, I guess, to steal Les's words.
As much as I could. There were a lot of time.
Yeah. Okay. This is from Marco. Affairs of the Art is your longest Beryl film. Is it because the character gets more complex over the years?
Oh God.
Yes, probably, but also because this film is an amalgamation of 4 scripts, which were about 5 minutes.
There was the story behind that is that when we'd done 2 films, TV companies still wanted to commission us, and Channel 4 British UK said, what we'd like to, a commissioning editor said to us, we'd like you to do 5-minute short films that we want to put on before the 8 o'clock news, you know, on mainstream British TV. And we thought, well, that's one fantastic idea, because, you know, short films usually get shown, animated films usually get shown about 2 o'clock in the morning when there's nobody
at all.
And we thought this would be amazing. There'd be millions of people watching these, you know, our own little films. And she said, go ahead and write 5 different short ideas, which I did. And then she resigned, she left. And then the next commissioning editor came along and said, we're not doing it, you know, stop, we're not doing this. So unfortunately, or fortunately for us, Welsh television had put something in writing about one of them, and that was Family Ties.
That was the last
So that wasn't a 5-minute film, but it was a 10-minute or a 13-minute film. So we went ahead and did that one. So
yeah, so making this one short was hard because it was we squashed all of the other scripts together.
that's why it's got different characters in it and different.
That's why it's probably
themes.
rather than a
It's 3
linear
different
thing.
films.
There's like different characters. It's more like a series of character profiles in a way as well.
Yeah, because we had thoughts to make it in 3 sections: Beryl, Beverly, and Colin. Basically.
Colin, yeah.
You know, and have it like structured like that, because a lot of you know, and you introduce it with that name, but we never got around to sort of developing it that way.
But that's why it's that much longer. It's because it wasn't a simple idea. It was actually quite a complicated idea. So at one point we were thinking, this is so big, it's going to be a feature. We did think that, and then we thought, hang on, no, that's crazy. So then it went on to like a half an hour. So it might be a half hour. And then we thought, and then we started trimming, and then it ended up 16 and a bit minutes.
Cool. Well, I feel like, again, the way that you weave in between all the stories, it's shocking to hear that it was supposed to be completely separate stories, because I feel like they did have such a great organic flow to them. So kudos to having the visuals and the you know, the scripts being able to make it work.
Very difficult to do that, actually.
Yeah.
I hope we managed.
Well, how long? Well, I guess it's a little bit tricky, especially this film being so different. I was going to ask, like, on average, how long it usually takes to get a script ready that you're comfortable enough to start like boarding it, or to start really like sticking with it and not changing it too much.
Oh God, that's a difficult
well, if we look back to when we were faster, everything seems to take about a year. You know, a year amount of time, wasn't it?
To get everything
to get the story
sorted out.
Everything sorted before you started the animation. So going through various scripts, various versions of the storyboard, get the animatic, and then go. That all seems to take about a year. Not this one.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yes. Yes. And another question here from Alex: has being based in Cardiff shaped your work?
Well, I suppose it has, in a sense that we feel very comfortable there. And I'm Welsh. Joe's lived in Wales since when?
100 years.
Mid-80s. And in those days, there was a lot of funding. Like I said, Welsh television funded everything. People actually, animators, moved to Cardiff because there were funds there. And so there was a really good animation community. It was a bit of a media city too, because BBC was there, ITV was there. It was like, you know, a kind of culture center. But then when funding dropped off, the people kind of left, but we didn't. You know?
Well, not everybody left, and of course we got the new Cardiff Animation Festival. It was resurrected with wonderful Lauren Orme. So and that's been fantastic. It's been really great, and we've been able, well, not this year, but to invite lovely people to come and show their work, and that's been great. But I think as well, in terms of the culture, absolutely, definitely, you know, our films are Welsh, very Welsh.
They're
you know,
absolutely great. Yeah, because if you think about it, the second film, Body Beautiful, was based in a Japanese factory, right? Because the Welsh government gave a lot of money to Japanese factories to move to Wales in order to create work and jobs and improve the economy, which they did. I think Wales was the biggest consumer of Japanese companies in the world. Can you believe it? Everybody went. Sony, Panasonic, IKEA, everybody went there. And we based the character or the narrative in Japanese factories, you know, absolutely, because they were there on our doorstep. You know, we went there and we researched them. It was really good having that as a kind of guide. So we exploited it in the sense that it was great for research. Does that answer the question?
Yes, I'd say so.
That's why we stayed in Wales. You know, that's
No, that's exciting. And let's see, Mark asks, have you always used the same actress for Beryl?
No, we haven't. The original Beryl was 𝙤𝙤 𝙤𝙤, who sadly died of cancer. So she was in the first one. So she was in Girls' Night Out, and then in I think from Body Beautiful onwards, it's been Menna Trussler, and so yes, we have kept the same Menna voice up until this one, and it's really lovely working with the same actress all the way through.
Yeah,
because she develops as a character as well as in the film as well as in life.
And then a question also is, what are some animated works that you've been enjoying lately? I guess in lockdown, perhaps.
Refer to your list.
I did actually write, in case we were asked this. I mean, some of the films that we've seen lately that have just been, I mean, they might not be like Nikita Diaka, his Fest and his Ugly are just absolutely brilliant, and I just love the way he uses computer animation and it just sort of breaks everything up, deconstructs all these shapes and everything. It's just fantastic.
Yeah.
I love Nikki von Bar and her beautiful animation.
I'm like writing these down properly.
And Bathhouse is one of our favorites. It's just fantastic. And I think the reason we love it is because it's observational, you know, and the characters are all animals, but they're all they're all dressed as jumpers and sweeping and, you know, just doing ordinary jobs, and everything's so understated and so well observed and gorgeous. And one film, sorry, I'm just taking over.
There's films, we watch them together. We watch, you know, and sometimes I like them and sometimes Joe does. But the list we've got here, I love it, all these films. So what about the Belgian one? Talk about the Belgian.
The Magnificent Cake is just, I just think it's a masterpiece. It's just just wonderful. That's Emma de Swaf and Mark James Royals.
Why do we like that?
Why do we like that?
We like it because, first of all, it's sort of a comment on what went on in colonialist Africa, you know, with the Belgians being the kind of imperialists, if you like.
I think they were worse than the British.
Well, because she did Britannia, which was an indictment of British imperialism. When we watched this, we thought it was absolutely wonderfully done and very kind of expressive of what was going on throughout colonial Africa, with all the European nations basically doing exactly the same thing there. So that's one reason. The content of it was great, but the technique and the pace was absolutely wonderful.
I think we think they're geniuses, genii.
Yeah, and after was it Willie, the Willie film that's
yes,
the first film they did, the first short.
Willie, yes, Willie.
It was absolutely fantastic as well, you know, especially the pace. You know, the pace of it was just perfect.
One surprising film that we saw during lockdown was Am I a Wolf by the Iranian animator Emir Houshang-Moin. Utterly wonderful. I think he lives in Germany, I think, or is it France? I can't remember, but he's an Iranian
animator. Yeah, cool.
And beautiful film, lovely, gorgeous. And so Iranian animation is fantastic. You know, the more I discover more and more Iranian animation, because they've just got a wonderful sense. They've got a wonderful sense of humor, and again, you know, everything's understated, and it's just lovely.
Yeah. I think we have one final question, and that was, do you have any interest in animation in VR?
No.
That's fair. That's completely fair.
I'm astounded by it, and it's just mind-boggling. And you put them and say, "Oh my god!" But I can't actually see how that we could get into that world. It just seems like somewhere
I thought you were going to
else.
say it seems like a different world.
It is, it's a different one.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
But it's fantastic. Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. All right, then I think.
So exciting, and going to film festivals is just wonderful because you see animation is such a broad genre, you know, and I mean, it's just an art form that goes in all different directions, and so it's just it's a wonderful area to be in, I think, animation.
Yeah, no, and I've been thrilled to watch your career continue on, and like not to make you feel like you're always like, oh, but it's like I've grown up with your films, and I'm thrilled that you still have this enthusiasm and this desire to create and tell your stories, and I hope you keep doing that. I hope this film does well when people can finally see it in the world in 2021, and I hope that in the future you will get to return to the animation festivals and continue talking about your work and making more of your own stories, both of you. And
yes,
of course.
and I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in and joining us. Yeah, thank you all so much. And with that, I think we will end it here. Again, thank you so much, Joanna and Les.
Okay.
Thank you, Jen.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.